You're listening to the Weekend Sport Podcast with Jason Pine from News Talk ZB.
Last one for the first time since 2018. Novak Djokovic has lost a match at the Australian Tennis Open.
It's sensational from Jannik. He is through to his first major final. And astonishingly, he does it without facing a single break point against Novak Djokovic.
Yeah, Djokovic beaten in 4 sets by Italian fourth seed Jannik Sinner in the semi-finals yesterday. That was the voice of the outstanding Rob Koenig on the call. Rob, thanks for joining us the day after. Did you see that coming? Djokovic out in the semi-finals.
You know, in the back of my head, there was definitely the chance that it could happen, but I always asked myself the question. It was every single cent that I earned, and I had to pick a player. You have to go with Novak at the latter stages of the majors. The fact that he's never lost here in the 10 semi-finals that he's played, but there was this nagging thought that, you know, Sinner had beaten him 2 of the last 3 times they've played, and of course it's recent history, right, at the tail end of the season last year, in Turin at the Davis Cup final, saving a match point. Let's not forget that when he beat him in the Davis Cup final as well. So the belief was there. And in matches of this magnitude, that's what it comes down to. In those crucial moments, do you think you can beat the other guy on the other side of the net? And that's what Sinner had. It wasn't a classic by any stretch of the imagination. In fact, Novak was really poor in the opening 2 sets. And you have to make hay while the sun shines. And that's what Jannik was able to do. And I thought he stayed very level-headed. There was a little bit of wobble in that 3rd set tiebreaker with the forehand going awry. But when it was all said and done, I thought it was a pretty professional performance from him.
I want to get to Sinner in a second, but for Novak, he called it one of his worst Grand Slam matches ever. What went wrong?
Everything. The guy couldn't make a return a serve. His backhand, a shot that is normally forged in steel. I mean, I think in the opening 4 games, I remember him making 10 unforced errors. He goes entire matches where he barely makes double-digit unforced errors off that side. The movement didn't look as sharp as it usually is. His balance was a little off. You'd see him hit shots and then almost fall over. But he's been like that from round 1. When he played young Dino Prismic from Croatia in the opening round, that went over 4 hours against the 18-year-old. And it was just not the sharpness. He played well against... in his quarterfinal match, it eludes me for a second who he played in the quarters. Taylor Fritz. He had moments where he played well there, but everybody in the commentary room was saying, "Well, you know, it's not the best form of Novak that we've seen, but we should see the best of him now at the sharp end of the tournament." And we didn't. And if there's one player that he didn't want to see, it's Sinner. Given that Sinner's had recent success against him and believed that he could get the job done.
Well, he did. And the point you made in commentary, which was one of the most astonishing to me, was that Sinner didn't have to face a single break point in that semi-final. It's an incredible stat.
Never happened before, right? In a match that he's completed, Djokovic. It happened for a set in 2 games against Berdych at Wimbledon back in 2010, but that doesn't count. But in a completed match, that has never happened. So again, it's testimony to the fact that Novak hasn't been on his A game. And I remember against Taylor Fritz, in fact, he didn't convert in the first 15 break points that he got a look at. So, you know, one of the greatest strengths of his game, his return game, you know, it simply wasn't here over the fortnight. And in those 2 big matches, I mean, even though he got through against Fritz, against Sinner, yeah, he just couldn't make it happen. And we both know the margins in this game are so small. A point here, a break point here, or a break point there can have a huge effect on the outcome. And when you're not converting, when you're not creating any opportunities, my gosh, you've got no shot, even if you're Djokovic.
Sinner's been good though, hasn't he? All tournament. Yesterday was the first game, or first match rather, in which he's dropped a set. He'd go in against Medvedev tomorrow night as favourite, wouldn't he?
He would. If memory serves, I did check the head-to-head, 6-3 in favour of Medvedev, but Medvedev's lost the last 3 to him, all on a hard court surface. So, you know, and of course the fatigue factor. Medvedev's played a lot of tennis. How he came back yesterday to beat Zverev, only the good Lord knows. But incredible mental fortitude. And I think the big thing that's in his favour is the fact that Medvedev, you know, has He's been there. He's done it. He hasn't won the Australian Open, but he's won a major. He won the US Open a couple of years ago. So that counts for a lot. I still think one of the toughest things in our sport to do is win a major at the first time of asking when you're in a final. That takes some serious mental doing.
The sheer tennis that Medvedev has played in this tournament really interests me, because I see afterwards he said what it's done is improved his mental fortitude, allowed him to go to places he previously hasn't had to go to. But having said that, having had so many five-setters, one that finished about 4 a.m, I think, Rob, that has to take a toll, doesn't it, as you get towards the sharp end of a tournament like this?
Yeah, that accumulated fatigue, you're bang on. That match against Rusevori, that's the one you're talking about in the second round, when he came back also from 2 sets to love down to beat Emil. But man, there's a great book that I've been reading, and any of your listeners enjoy that side of the sport, called Endure. And the subtitle of the book is The Curiously Elastic Limits of Human Performance. And that is exactly what we saw last night. When you think you're done as an athlete, you've actually got a long way to go. And if you can just hold that thought mentally that I'm not done, and you can convince yourself that you can stay out there one more point, one more game, it's astonishing what the human body can do and what it can achieve. And I think that insight that Medvedev got is invaluable down the road. If you remember his I think it was his first US Open final against Nadal when he was 2 sets to love down there. It looked like he was done and dusted, coming off the back of a couple of matches. And then against Rafa, he comes back and wins sets 3 and 4 when everybody thought he was done. That would have given him the first inkling that I can do pretty special things if I just apply myself consistently, take it one step at a time. And I think he's improved upon that mindset in the last 14 days here, Jay.
Just to finish, what do you see for Djokovic moving forward? Clearly, he's been imperious at the Australian Open for so long now. This isn't a signal that his star is on the wane, is it? Or is it?
No, I think it would be doing him an injustice, because he'll say to us, have a look last year. I played and won 4 of the 5 biggest tournaments that we had, and I should have won Wimbledon as well, right? So he wins 3 of the 4 majors. He wins the ATP finals in Turin, which is regarded as the 5th biggest tournament that they have on the men's calendar. So I think it would be completely out of order and, showing him no respect for what he's just done. If he had only won 1 major, I mean, Carlos Alcaraz has only won 1 major, and we talk about him as being, potential winner every single tournament that he plays in. So I think, do not count Djokovic out. Novak Djokovic will stop winning majors when Novak Djokovic stops playing in majors, JP.
Oh, what a great line to finish. Rob, I've loved your commentary of this Aussie Open. Thanks for lending us your expertise and analysis on the show this afternoon. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
That's Rob Koenig. Thanks, Rob. You'll hear his voice. You'll recognise his voice from the coverage we're getting on TV. So the finals are set in the singles. Aryna Sabalenka against Zheng Qianwen in tonight's women's final, 9:30. Jannik Sinner and Daniil Medvedev in the men's decided tomorrow night, also at 9:30. I've had a quick check of the odds, and Sinner is a firm favourite over Medvedev, I guess for a couple of reasons. He's beaten Djokovic, and Medvedev has played a heck of a lot of tennis in the last couple of weeks.
For more from Weekend Sport with Jason Pine, listen live to News Talk ZB weekends from midday, or follow the podcast on iHeartRadio.
This week on the Parenting Hangover podcast.
Do you use off-peak power?
No, 6:59 a.m. I go to the meter box and I just shut it off. Whole house is just dark. They'll survive. Like I said, they eat Wheat Bix, right? They love Wheat Bix. So the milk will stay cold in the fridge. The showers will still be warm. Am I onto something here?
I feel like you're taking the piss.
I'm not. And then 10 a.m. or as soon as they leave, boof, put it back on.
The Parenting Hangover with Clinton Jordan. New episodes every Thursday on iHeartRadio or wherever you get your podcasts.